The Hamilton Hotel had stood on the corner of Fifth and Pine for over a century, its red brick facade a testament to Seattle's golden age. From my office on the mezzanine, I could see the construction cranes circling like vultures, modern glass towers rising on every side of our little piece of history. Soon they'd be coming for us too, or so they thought. I'm Sarah Hamilton, the last of the Hamilton hoteliers, though that title didn't mean much anymore. Our once brand establishment had been struggling for years, unable to compete with the luxury chains and boutique hotels that now dominated downtown. At least that's what everyone believed. Miss Hamilton, Maria, our head housekeeper for 30 years, knocked softly. The people from Apex Development are here, again. I sighed, straightening my jacket. This would be their third visit this week. Send them up. Marcus Chen and Victoria Ross swept into my office like they owned it already, which, according to the papers spread across my desk, they soon would. Apex Development had made what they called a generous offer of $2 million for the property, well below market value but enough to pressure a supposedly failing business. Sarah, Marcus smiled, all perfect teeth and expensive suit. Have you had a chance to review the final offer? I glanced at the contract, thinking about the secret I discovered just last night while going through my grandfather's old files. I have some concerns about the historic preservation clauses. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. The building's not officially landmarked. Once the sale goes through, Apex can proceed with our development plans without restriction. That's what they thought. But Grandfather Hamilton had been cleverer than anyone knew. The hotel's losing money every month, Marcus added, his smile turning predatory. Property taxes in this area have tripled. How long can you keep operating at a loss? He wasn't wrong about the challenges. The Hamilton had been struggling ever since my father's death 5 years ago. We'd lost corporate accounts to newer hotels, our maintenance costs were rising, and the property taxes in booming downtown Seattle were crushing. But we weren't quite as desperate as they believed. $2 million is more than fair, Victoria pressed, especially considering the building's condition. The electrical needs updating, the plumbing is ancient, and let's be honest, the whole place needs a complete overhaul. I touched the antique desk that had been my grandfather's, remembering the hours I'd spent here as a child, listening to his stories about the hotel's glory days, about the secret he protected, waiting for the right moment. The Hamilton has been more than just a hotel, I said quietly. It's been a part of Seattle's history for over 100 years. My grandfather used to tell me about the speakeasy in the basement during Prohibition, the jazz musicians who played in our ballroom, the secret meetings during World War II. Fascinating history, Marcus cut in, not bothering to hide his boredom. But history doesn't pay the bills. Our offer expires at the end of the week. After that, well, he shrugged. Banks aren't very sentimental about foreclosures. They left, leaving behind the contract and the weight of their threats. As soon as the door closed, I pulled out the document I found last night, my grandfather's original deed to the property, dated 1973. The deed with a very special clause that Apex's lawyers had somehow missed. My phone buzzed. A text from Tom, my best friend since college and now one of Seattle's top real estate attorneys. Found it. The clause is still valid. Call me ASAP. I smiled, remembering my grandfather's words from years ago. Sometimes, Sarah, the best move in business is to let your opponents think they've won, right up until the moment they discover they've lost everything. The Hamilton had secrets that went far deeper than its history, secrets that would turn Apex's $100 million development plans to dust. My father had never known about the clause. Grandfather had taken that secret to his grave, leaving only a letter for me to find when the time was right. Last night, sorting through his old files in preparation for the sale, I'd finally discovered it. My dearest Sarah, the letter began, if you're reading this, someone's trying to take our hotel. But what they don't know is that in 1973, when Seattle was dying and downtown property was worthless, I added a special covenant to the deed. The Hamilton Hotel can never be demolished or significantly altered without unanimous approval from all living members of the Hamilton family, not just majority approval, unanimous. And the covenant runs with the land, binding all future owners in perpetuity. I touched the original deed, its pages yellowed but its legal language crystal clear. Any attempt to demolish or fundamentally alter the hotel would require my approval. An approval I would never give. But that wasn't even the biggest secret the Hamilton held. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. Come in. Maria entered, closing the door carefully behind her. Miss Sarah. The men from the Historical Society are here. They've finished their inspection of the basement. I stood up quickly, and she smiled, her eyes twinkling. They found it, exactly where your grandfather said it would be. The original Shanghai tunnels connecting to 3 other buildings. They're intact, and they're spectacular. The Shanghai tunnels, a network of underground passages that ran beneath downtown Seattle, used during Prohibition and rumored to be part of the Underground Railroad. Most have been destroyed or sealed off during later development, but according to my grandfather's letters, the Hamilton's tunnels have been preserved, hidden behind false walls in the basement. Tunnels that, according to the Historical Society's preliminary assessment, would make the hotel eligible for National Historic Landmark status. Status that would make it virtually impossible for any developer to touch the property. My phone buzzed again. Tom, sending documents proving that the covenant was ironclad. Apex's lawyers missed it completely. His message read, "They have no idea what they're walking into." I sat back in my grandfather's chair, looking out at the city he'd loved so much. The Seattle of his day was almost gone, replaced by glass and steel monuments to progress. But the Hamilton had endured, protecting its secrets until they were needed most. The hotel wasn't failing. I just made it look that way. Every lost corporate account had been carefully documented. Every maintenance issue strategically exaggerated. The property taxes were high, but the hotel's true financial situation was far from desperate. My grandfather had taught me that sometimes you had to lose a little to win big. Apex thought they were buying a struggling hotel for a bargain price. Instead, they were walking into a trap that would cost them millions. Tomorrow, I would sign their contract, playing the part of the defeated heiress forced to sell her family legacy. I'd watch them celebrate their victory, planning their luxury condos and boutique shops. Then, when Demolition Day came, I would show them the covenant, the historical designation, the true value of the property they thought they were stealing. The Hamilton had one more story to tell, and this time, the ending would be written by a Hamilton. The signing ceremony was everything Apex Development had hoped for. A media event showcasing their latest acquisition in downtown Seattle's transformation. Local news cameras captured my reluctant signature on the sales contract, Marcus Chen's triumphant handshake, and Victoria Ross's perfectly rehearsed speech about progress and urban renewal. The Hamilton Hotel has been a beloved landmark, she announced to the gathered reporters. But it's time for Seattle to embrace the future. Apex's new luxury development will revitalize this entire block. I sat quietly, playing my part as the defeated heiress. Only Tom, standing beside me as my attorney, knew I was fighting back a smile. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Apex's team swarmed the hotel, conducting surveys and making plans. They never noticed that every routine inspection by the Historical Society was carefully documented, building our case for landmark status. Or that every architectural assessment was quietly copied to my files, proving the building's structural integrity. Then came the morning they'd all been waiting for. Demolition Day. I arrived early, watching the construction crews set up their equipment. Marcus and Victoria stood with their project managers, reviewing plans and checking schedules. They didn't even notice me until I walked up with Tom and Maria. "Sarah," Marcus nodded dismissively. "Come to say goodbye to the old place." "Actually," I smiled, "I'm here to protect my property." Victoria frowned. "Your property? You signed it over to Apex 3 weeks ago." "About that." Tom stepped forward, opening his briefcase. "You might want to take a look at these documents first." The next hour was chaos. Apex's lawyers huddled over the original deed, faces growing paler as they confirmed the covenant's validity. Historical Society representatives presented their findings about the Shanghai tunnels, complete with photographs and preservation requirements. City officials arrived with preliminary landmark designation papers. "This is impossible," Marcus sputtered, waving the deed. "Our lawyers checked everything." "Apparently not carefully enough," Tom replied calmly. "The covenant is ironclad and runs with the land. You can't demolish or significantly alter the hotel without unanimous approval from all living Hamiltons." "Fine," Victoria snapped. "Name your price." I smiled, channeling my grandfather's quiet confidence. "It's not about price. The Hamilton isn't for sale, not for demolition anyway." But I do have a proposition for you. Over the next 2 hours, in my grandfather's old office, I laid out my plan. The Hamilton would remain standing, its historic facade and crucial architectural elements preserved. But the interior would be carefully modernized, combining classic elegance with contemporary luxury. The Shanghai tunnels would become a unique tourist attraction, drawing history enthusiasts from around the world. The property is worth $100 million as a teardown, I explained, showing them the market analyses and projections. But as a unique historic luxury hotel with an exclusive underground tour, we're looking at potential revenues of $50 million annually. Marcus leaned forward despite himself. We're developers, not hoteliers. No, I agreed. But I am, fifth generation, in fact. The Hamilton hasn't been failing. I've been deliberately operating at reduced capacity while documenting everything. Our reputation in the industry is still sterling. Our customer base is still loyal. And now, with the tunnels and historic designation, we have something no other hotel in Seattle can offer. Victoria's eyes narrowed. What exactly are you proposing? A partnership. Apex provides the capital for renovations, following historical preservation guidelines. The Hamilton Hotel provides the property, the expertise, and the unique historical assets. We split the profits 50-50. And if we refuse? Marcus challenged. Tom smiled. Then you own a property you can't develop, can't demolish, and can't sell for anywhere near what you paid. Meanwhile, the historical designation will require expensive maintenance and preservation measures. The negotiations lasted well into the night. By morning we had a deal. Apex would fund a $50 million historical renovation, preserving the hotel's character while modernizing its amenities. The Shanghai tunnels would be restored and open for tours. Most importantly, the Hamilton would remain a hotel operated by its original family. 1 month later, I stood in the grand lobby watching the restoration work begin. The original marble floors were being carefully cleaned, the brass fixtures polished to their former glory. Upstairs, rooms were being elegantly updated while maintaining their historic charm. Maria appeared at my side, smiling at the activity. Your grandfather would be proud. He planned it all, I said softly. The covenant, the hidden tunnels, even the timing. He knew someday someone would try to tear down his life's work, so he made sure they couldn't. The hotel reopened 6 months later to rave reviews. History meets luxury, the Seattle Times declared. The Hamilton Hotel reveals underground secrets, wrote the Travel Channel. Our occupancy rate hit 95% within weeks. Marcus and Victoria, to their credit, adapted quickly to our new partnership. They discovered that preserving history could be as profitable as destroying it, sometimes more so. The Shanghai Tunnel tours became the hottest ticket in Seattle tourism. One evening, as I sat in my grandfather's office watching the sunset paint the city gold, I found another letter hidden in his desk. This one was dated just days before his death. My dearest Sarah, it read, by now you've saved the Hamilton and discovered its true value. But the real treasure isn't in the tunnels or the covenant or even the hotel itself. It's in understanding that progress doesn't always mean demolishing the past. Sometimes it means building on its foundation, preserving what matters while adapting to change. You've done that beautifully. The Hamilton isn't just a hotel. It's a bridge between centuries, a keeper of stories, a reminder that some things are worth saving. I trust you'll keep its secrets, preserve its legacy, and when the time comes, pass on its lessons to the next generation. With pride and love, grandfather. I touched the antique desk, thinking about the layers of history beneath my fingers. Outside, modern Seattle stretched toward the sky, glass towers reflecting the setting sun. But here in the Hamilton, past and present have found a way to coexist, each making the other stronger. Today, the Hamilton Hotel stands as proof that progress doesn't always mean destruction. Our rooms combine historic charm with modern luxury. The Shanghai tunnels draw tourists and history buffs from around the world. Even Apex has embraced our vision, using the Hamilton success as a model for historic preservation projects in other cities. Marcus still jokes about how thoroughly I outmaneuvered them. We thought we were buying a teardown, he'd admitted at our last board meeting. Instead, we bought into a legacy. The construction cranes still circle downtown Seattle, but they no longer feel like vultures. Change is inevitable. But some things, history, family, integrity, endure. The Hamilton protected its secrets until they were needed most, just as my grandfather protected his greatest lesson. Sometimes the best way to build the future is to preserve the past. Every evening, I walked through the hotel just as my grandfather did, greeting guests, checking details, ensuring the Hamilton standards never waver. The original key rack still hangs behind the front desk, though the keys are now electronic. The grandfather clock in the lobby still chimes the hours, its brass face gleaming. And somewhere below in the restored Shanghai tunnels, tourists gather to hear stories of Seattle's past. They say every historic building has its secrets. The Hamilton's secret was that it was never just a hotel. It was a testament to the power of patience, preservation, and the quiet strength of those who protect what matters most. As for me, I'm just the latest in a long line of Hamilton hoteliers, keeping our legacy alive one story at a time. And someday, when another developer comes calling with dreams of glass towers and profit margins, they'll learn what Apex learned. Some things are worth more than money, some buildings hold more than memories, and some battles are won not with force, but with foresight. The Hamilton stands ready for its next century, its red brick facade a proud reminder that not all progress requires destruction. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply standing your ground, protecting what matters, and proving that the best stories are the ones that endure.